Hi, and welcome to twoquestions.tv. I'm your host, Susan Baroncini-Moe. I have been plugging this interview for quite a while, folks. You know this. I am interviewing my friend, Bob Burg. He's a sought-after speaker at company leadership and sales conferences, sharing the platform with everyone from today's business leaders and broadcast personalities, even to a former president. And Bob is the author of a number of fantastic books on sales, marketing, and influence. And he has book sales in well over 1 million copies. His book, The Go-Giver, this book, which we'll be talking about today, was co-authored with John David Mann, and it has sold over 500,000 copies and has been translated into 21 languages. It has been released in a new expanded edition with a foreword by Huffington Post founder and publisher Arianna Huffington. Bob's an advocate, supporter, and defender of the free enterprise system, believing that the amount of money one makes is directly proportional to how many people they serve. He's an unapologetic animal fanatic, right on, and is a past member of the board of directors of Furry Friends Adoption Clinic and Ranch in his hometown of Jupiter, Florida. And we're so grateful that we get to have this interview, and he fared okay during the hurricane. Bob, welcome, and thank you for being on the show.
I love you, Susan Baroncini-Moe. It's always great to speak with you.
It's been too long. It's been too long. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm really glad to have you on the show and happy to get to talk to you about a couple of questions that I emailed you because I've been thinking about these for a while and they've been kind of nagging at me. So I've been promising my viewers that we are going to talk about The Go-Giver again, this book.
Oh, we're gonna do that so well.
We're gonna talk about this. I'm not even looking at the screen. We're gonna talk about this book today, and I promise them in a totally different way than we've talked about it before. Okay. So, as I said, I've been thinking about you a lot, and I've been wishing, because you hear something kind of constantly that you once said. You once said, and I know this isn't, you once said people do business with people they know, like, and trust. And that's become kind of a part of the DNA of how a lot of people do business today. But many people forget that there's a first part of that sentence, which is all things being equal, people do business with people they know, like, and trust. And sometimes, and this came out in our email conversation, they even say all things not being equal, people will still do business with people they know, like, and trust, which is not what you said at all. So is it weird to hear something that you wrote as a part of this DNA of how people do business, and to hear people repeat something this way? Do you still stand by the original statement? And what do you wish people knew about the statement?
Sure. And the unfortunate thing, Susan, is that, and of course, it's a compliment that people will quote you. Mm-hmm. Even if it's not accurate, it's a compliment that they would mean to quote you. And right. I'm always one, and you know me, I always really want to make sure I credit people who said something the right way. When I hear Zig's quotes being mangled and other quotes, I always want to politely correct the person, right?
Yeah.
The actual quote is, all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. Now, I'm sure, first of all, I didn't make up the know, like, and trust part. That's probably been around forever. My thing that I put on was, aside from the referrals part, is all things being equal. And that's the key. Because if we live in a commodity-based society these days. Technology has leveled the playing field. Basically, most products work, and most services are pretty much the same. With that in mind, it typically comes down to other things like, if a potential buyer sees no significant difference in a product or service, it's going to come down to who has the lowest price, right? Or something like that. And that's where the relationship comes in. All things being equal, the price is pretty much equal, the quality is pretty much equal, ability to deliver is pretty much equal. It will come down to the relationship, who they know, who they like, who they trust. Okay. Now, people will sometimes say, so that's why that first part's very important. Okay. Now, the second part, the second thing you brought up correctly is that people will say, well, even when it's not equal, here's the key to this. I probably should have said all things being equal or close enough to equal. Because
Yes.
the fact is, while it's never totally, if it gets too far from being equal, then no, it won't necessarily. They can know, like, and trust you, but if you can't deliver the goods, they're not going to do business with you. In other words, not out of a lack of competency, but let's say you're not, you physically, the way the things are set up, can't deliver in 10 days, and that's when they need it.
Right.
Or let's say the price is so much different that when there's no real reason for it to be, you cannot justify through the added value or the relationship. Okay, so here's one other example that I often use. Okay, when I was a little kid, my family went to a dentist, Dr. Vonsalides. He was just a wonderful Greek man back in Peabody, Massachusetts, where I lived the first 5 years or 4 years. Okay, now we moved to the town of Natick, which was about 45 or 50 minutes away. But we loved Dr. V. So we made the trip twice a year, the whole family, 45, 50, even though there were dentists who were very good right in town. They're probably as good as Dr. V. But all things being equal, people will be right, we made the trip, okay?
Right.
Now, eventually, I moved away and moved to Jupiter, Florida. Okay. Now, I still love Dr. V. Well, assuming I don't even know if he's still alive. But I mean, assuming was when I moved down, he was still alive. Great guy. Now, was I going to twice a year get on a plane from West Palm Beach to Logan Airport in Boston, rent a car or take a cab, go through 2 hours of traffic in the heading, back when they had the big dig going on, when it was no.
Things are not equal.
Right, all things were not even close enough to equal. It didn't matter. I found a dentist down here. So when people say things like, well, all things be equal, and even not equal, they mean well. And I understand what they mean by that, okay?
Right.
But no, that really kind of veers off a little too much and takes the original meaning away, that it's when things are equal or pretty much close enough to equal, it will be about the relationship.
Exactly. I'm so glad we cleared that up. Okay, now, you and I have kind of touched on this before. This book, The Go-Giver.
Oh, I love
this one. So over the years, I make this book recommended reading for pretty much all my clients, especially my entrepreneur clients. And that's one of the things we do. It's required. But what I've found is it can be incredibly challenging for some people to really see the Go-Giver principles and authentically inhabit them. It's something that I hear from the startup and challenged sort of struggling clients all the time, that it's very easy to be generous and giving when you already have success and you have business coming through the door. It is harder to do that when you really need the business. But as you point out in the book, that's when you need to do it the most.
Exactly.
But when they try to get in the spirit of generosity and of giving, if they have in the back of their minds that they really need to do this to, get clients or get customers to get the business, it then feels authentic, like they're kind of putting on like a awkward suit. And so I think a lot of people also don't realize this is not a temporary measure to get business. This is a whole way of being. And so how can someone go from that place where it feels inauthentic and like, this doesn't quite fit me well, and begin to authentically inhabit the principles of this book? And how can they really transform, given that they might be struggling, they might really need or want the business, and not feel like they're sort of doing something manipulative? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, how can they make it more authentic?
I think there are two issues at play here. The first is like when you brought up, it's fine to do this after you don't need the money and you're doing well. Let's look at that one first.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one is about the authenticity in focusing on others, understanding that you're doing that with the idea of being profitable as
Mm-hmm.
well. So let's look at that second. The first one is just and this is based on a false premise, okay, that, well, when you don't need the business, then you can be more focused on that person. But if you really want to make the money and you need the money now, you got to think about yourself and think about the money, right? Well, let's look at this a little deeper, okay, and see where this is actually very practical, okay? Let's say you are in business, you really, like all of us, when we first start out, we need to bring the money in, right? I mean, the money is the lifeblood. Without it, we can have a great idea, we can love what we do, but we're not going to be in business. So we think, okay, well, I've got to focus on my, so you go and you have a prospect in front of you, and you're about to do a presentation. And again, you need the money. So you don't care about this person. You just care about getting their money. So
sign up, let's go.
Right. So you come across as someone who's really more interested in their money than in helping them. You come across as someone more I-focused or me-focused rather than other-focused. You might ask a question or two, but really it's so that you can kind of get the close and get the, are they more likely or less likely to do business with you right now?
For sure. All things being equal, for sure, less likely.
Right, exactly. Now, let's say you go into this and you're in the same position. I mean, you are just starting out. You need the money to survive. But now what you're doing is you're going to put that aside. You're going to temporarily, you're not going to forego your self-interest, your sense of self-interest. We're human beings. We are self-interested creatures. But you're going to temporarily suspend it. Like when you go into a movie, you know the saying, we temporarily suspend our disbelief.
Sure.
We know that James Bond isn't really cracking a joke while some terrorist has a gun pointed at his head. That would be crazy, right? But we suspend our disbelief so that we can enjoy the show and feel the feelings and you're going to suspend, and you're going to focus on that other person. You're going to ask them questions in order to determine and discover what they need, what they want, what they desire. Only at that point are you going to begin to match the benefits of your product or service with their wants, needs, or desires. Your focus is going to be not on yourself and not on transferring their money into your pocket. It's going to be on helping them. When you do this, are they more likely or less likely to want to do business with you right now?
More likely, all things being equal.
Right. So we need to stop seeing this as oh yeah, it's great when you don't need it because now I'm going to be, no, it's the best way to do business. Remember, money is simply an echo of value. And it's to the degree that they feel, remember, no one's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet. They're not going to buy from you because you need the money. They're not even going to buy from you because you're a really nice person who believes in your product. They're going to buy from you only because they believe they'll be better off by doing so than by not doing so. And that's the only reason why they should buy from you. And so it's only when you've shifted your focus from yourself onto them that is even going to happen.
And in terms of making it authentic, then...
Right. Okay. So
that's not an extra question. That's part of the second question.
That is part of the question. That's the second part. Very important. And I've had people say, well, Bob, but what about the fact that, yes, I do genuinely want to help them. By the way, if you don't want to help your prospect or customer, why are you in business? If it's just to make money, it's a tough way to make money when you just care about making money. Money is the result of bringing value to others, okay? And so it's difficult to thrive in business if money is just it, okay?
Right.
And so, and again, you're talking to a free market capitalist, okay? But capitalism is about bringing value. It's about voluntary exchange between people, okay?
Right.
So to think that, so what happens with the authenticity part is they have a problem with the fact that while they're focused on bringing value to others, they also know they're doing this as a means to profit.
Right.
What John David Mann and I in Go Givers Sell More, the follow-up to that book that you were, this is what we call the, treacherous dichotomy. or the false dilemma.
Yes.
A false
Yes.
dilemma can be defined as the unnecessary use of the word or, okay? You're either giving or you're receiving.
Right.
You're either a nice person or you finish first, right? You're either, no, so you're giving, you're focused on the giving, and you allow yourself the receiving. There's no dichotomy. You should be caring about them, and you should be earning a very healthy profit. That's good. And if that's how you feel, that's great. That is authentic. There's nothing wrong with that. Just don't try and deny that feeling, that self-interest. Just understand and accept it's part of being a human being. But that what we do is when we truly can focus on bringing value to others, not only does that feel better as a way of doing business, it's also much more profitable. That's great.
Great. Well, I think that explains it a lot too. And it makes it okay that you do want business, you do want money, and you do want to be profitable, and all of that is okay. It's just sort of the other side of you can't give without someone receiving.
It's right.
And
it's just where your focus is.
yeah,
As long as
yeah.
your focus is on them, on bringing value to others, then you deserve all the money you're able to receive. Absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome. Oh, I'm so glad you came and talked to me about this.
Thank you. I am too.
And I think we've talked about it in a slightly new way.
Mm-hmm.
Exciting. So, and now I'm sorry that I didn't have the green book to show like
Okay.
this, but
I like what you're doing with that.
It's over there. It's in my bookshelf. I didn't, but Bob, I understand that you are perhaps working on something new.
Yeah, we have a new one in the series because, we had the Go-Giver and then Go-Giver Sell More, and then we had the Go-Giver Leader.
Right.
And in the spring of 2018, we'll have the latest parable, the Go-Giver Influencer. So
ooh, I do hope you'll come and talk to us about that.
Oh, I would love
that. Sounds phenomenal. Oh, great. I'm so glad. And as I say this every time I do an interview, I wish I had more questions I could ask, but there's a reason it's only 2 questions. It's to keep it brief, but also to keep me, a super verbose person, on track. So anyway, thank you so much for being here, Bob. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Always great to speak with you.
And let's not let it be so long next time. We'll do this in the spring.
I know. Well, we'll have to get another event at Dixie Gillespie's because I think that's the last time we saw each other.
Absolutely. She's someone I should also have on the show. She's phenomenal. Yes, absolutely. Yes. All right. That's going on the calendar for sure. All right. That's the next email that goes out. All right. Well, if you enjoyed this interview and you thought it was as informative and helpful as I did, give us a thumbs up and please subscribe to get more interviews like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.